QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 OneNote presentation, customer section, customer cycle. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022. Here we are in OneNote. If you have access to OneNote, would like to follow along, you're not required to, but if would like to, we're in the icon on the left-hand side, the Topic Introductions tab, down in the 1300 Customer Section, Customer Cycle tab. Also note, when using OneNote, take a look at the Immersive Reader tool. Our topic introductions will also be in the text area with the same name, same number, but with transcripts that can be translated into multiple different languages and either listened to or read in them. Also note, topic introductions will have the same name and number as a presentation. Topic introductions designed to give an introduction to the topic, provide screenshots, links when applicable, giving some background, accounting background on some of the topics we'll be covering within the QuickBooks presentations. Closing the icon on the left-hand side, we're focusing this time on the customer section. If you're looking at the presentations and you don't have access to the actual QuickBooks and you want to just follow along with the screenshots, you could do these screenshots and use them to do so. We have the home page as the first screenshot. And the prior presentations, we were focusing in on the flow related to the vendor section. Now we're focusing in on the customer section. The center section can also be called the accounts receivable cycle, the revenue cycle, or the sales cycle. Scrolling down, here's just a zoom in on that customer section. Now note the customer section is going to be different depending on the type of industry we are in. So oftentimes when we think about the flow of how the transactions will work, we think that we have some kind of control, as if we could say, well, I'm going to do a cash basis versus the accrual basis or something like that. We have some control, but really it's going to be dependent on the industry for the most part that we are in. And depending on that industry, we might be on a cash basis. We might even be a step further away from the cash basis in that we're basically being dependent on the bank feeds and looking at the banks and recording the bank fee transactions. That's actually a step away further in ease from a cash basis. The cash basis often being used if we're in a situation where we make sales for cash, possibly a check register type of situation where we get paid at the same point in time. And so that will be a different kind of method depending on the industry. And then we might have a situation where we have to track the receivables. In that instance, we need to be using the invoicing process and therefore, in essence, being on the accrual basis. In the presentation section, we'll go through those three kind of components in more detail. From easiest, we'll talk about the easiest kind of way you could do your accounting process if you have a simple cash basis, even further than cash basis, possibly like a gig economy situation with no inventory, and you're using the bank feeds, to basically a cash basis, to basically a full time of accrual kind of basis. And then you also want to think about how possibly bank feeds can fit into that and how the bank reconciliation process will fit into that. So we'll talk about those, and then we'll look more into these actual forms that will be generating the actual financial statements, creating the balance sheet, the income statement, otherwise known as the profit and loss, the P&L.